Welcome to Ireland with Michael. I'm Michael Laundra, and in this show I get to tell you everything I love about my home country the best way I know how, through music. This is Galway, one of the most vibrant and dynamic cities in Ireland. On these streets have bussed the likes of Ed Sheeran, Hozier and Seamus O'Flaherty, who we'll meet a little later on in this show. This place is alive with great food, culture and music.
Ireland with Michael is made possible by
whether travelling to Ireland for the first time or just longing to return. There's plenty more information available at ireland.com.
CIE Tours, sharing the magic of Ireland for nearly 90 years.
Aer Lingus has been bringing people home since 1936. If you're thinking about Ireland, Aer Lingus is ready when you are to take you home.
Galway City, a European capital of culture located in the mouth of Galway Bay, is alive with music. On the streets you'll hear every sort of style and genre. So, to start us off on the right foot, I ducked into the pub to meet a woman who can do it all from reeling folk tunes to mellow jazz.
If you ever go across the sea to Ireland.
I am so happy to be in this room with this lovely person. When I think of this great city, I think of the quintessential Galway girl, and that is Michelle Lally. How are you?
Thanks. Oh, it's great to see you. I'm doing brilliant.
Now, I first met you about 10 years ago. I was so lucky to have you as a singer, as a guest artist on my first PBS special. I was amazed that you said yes, and you came along and we put on a pretty great show, if you don't mind me saying. And since then, you've come home. You're not a touring artist as much anymore, but you sing an awful lot here in Ireland, right?
I do. And I love just touring around the country and doing smaller gigs. Yeah, I mean, I cut my teeth in doing the larger venues and touring the States and touring the world, really, you know, with Dannan. But I'm very much a home bird, and I'm just at that point, I suppose, where I'm really enjoying touring around Ireland and doing smaller gigs and meeting people. And I came out with an album there last year. And maybe at the closing of your day, you will sit and watch the moon rise over Claddagh and watch the sun go down in Galway Bay.
So I've been asking everybody this around town. What is the secret to Galway?
That would be telling.
Ah!
No, look, I think the lovely thing about Galway is that I think it's the people. I think it's a city that doesn't feel like a city. It feels like a lovely small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's very friendly. We've got great music here, from everything from trad to jazz to pop. There's so much to see and do in Galway. And we have so many different cultures here as well, which makes the city even better. Do you know, it just enriches what Galway is all about. And I think everybody that comes to Galway feels so welcome. And I think the magic about Galway is that there are so many people that come to Galway and they don't leave. They might come for 2 weeks or 3 weeks initially, but they find them, they fit in so well here, they don't want to leave, and they stay. They don't go home. And it's happened to many, many people. So It's hard to pinpoint what the secret is. I think there's so much to Galway. It has so much to offer. It's just a magical place. For the strangers came and tried to teach us their ways. They scorned us just for being what we are. Well, they might as well go chasing after moonbeams or light a penny candle from a star. This song is one of my favourites. I grew up watching all the old movies and musicals, and this song is from one of my favourites, The Quiet Man. And it was also a huge hit for Bing Crosby back in the 40s. And if there's going to be a life hereafter, and faith I am so sure there's going to be, I will ask my God to let me make my heaven in that dear old land across the Irish Sea. I will ask my God to let me make my heaven in that dear old land across the Irish Sea.
Of all the towns in Ireland, Galway is a walking city. So there's no one better to take us around than the man who walks for a living, giving one of the most insightful and entertaining tours of these streets that you'll get from anybody.
Michael.
Brian Nolan.
Welcome to Galway.
How are you?
And you brought the weather.
You're welcome.
Time to go for a walk. Come on.
We will.
You're walking on the street that Christopher Columbus walked on in 1484. I know you don't believe me, but he came here, 1484. The local wag said he came here looking for directions. Yeah.
Brian's one of my favourite people in Galway, wildly entertaining and a wealth of information. Some of his stories, however, can get very Irish.
Anyway, this street, it hasn't really changed in 500 years.
Which is why I was a little surprised to find out that Columbus surely did come to Galway, even if it was a few years earlier than we heard, in 1477.
This would have been exactly what he walked on. He would have come through here to say a prayer of thanks for a safe journey to the Church of St. Nicholas.
It was in fact St. Nicholas's, patron saint of seafarers, where he visited. And there we went next, where a market was underway.
I've been coming to this vegetable shop for 30 years probably. They know my potatoes. They have them at the back here for me, all right?
Your potatoes.
You know my potatoes, all right? So we've held a market here every year for the last 700 years. 1484, Richard II was the King of England. He gave us a city charter allowing Galway to elect a mayor and a city corporation and hold a market here every Saturday. Of course, he got the taxes.
And you got the potatoes.
And I got the spuds.
The fair weather we brought to this seaside city didn't last for long. And pretty soon, some Irish sunshine was falling from the sky. We ran for cover beneath the great dome of Galway Cathedral. We are here in the heart of the city, Brian. The Luminosa String Orchestra are playing behind us in this magnificent cathedral. Can you tell me about the age of it and what it's made from?
They started building this on the site of the old city jail. For 200 years, there were 400 prisoners incarcerated here. And then they demolished the jail in 1928. By 1960, they had started this cathedral and they built it from the ground up using limestone and granite, quarried from the quarries in Ballinasloe and Menlo, and Connemara marble. You can see it's beautiful here. But the cathedral, I think it's fantastic. It's the newest, the youngest cathedral in Europe.
I would like to take us out of the city, actually, to see one of the oldest cathedrals.
So we'll be going from the 20th century right back to the 8th century.
Fantastic. Let's go. Out of the city we go, heading south to visit the impressive ruins of that medieval monastery. This country, bordering the vast karst burn of County Galway, was once heavily wooded. It was from these trees that St. Colman MacDua emerged in the 6th century, and according to legend, in this spot where his jewelled girdle fell, indicating to him the place to set down a monastery. The abbey would grow over the next 600 years to as many as 300 or 400 monks, becoming the most important church for the Celtic dynasty of Ifiacrach, kings whose holdings extended from the Atlantic to the mountains of the Burn. Blood was spilt here when families split and nephew fought uncle bitterly for these lands. But though some have died by blade on this site, none have died by lightning. So it's said that this sacred ground will not permit it. The claim was put to the test in a great storm which did indeed strike a man. But whatever forces are at work here, they proved to be mighty indeed, as he was flung into the air and landed in nearby County Clare, and it was there, a safe distance away, where he expired instead. So Brian, tell us a little bit more about the place.
I love to call this Ireland's NASA. This is where we launch our spacecraft from. See that tower there? It's Ireland's tallest round tower, 36 metres, whatever, 120 feet or thereabouts. Yeah. And it leans by about 9 degrees to one side.
Yeah, I see.
Not quite as much as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but it's much older than the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Oh.
And you can see the hills behind here, the Burren Hills, filled with limestone and gorgeous flowers, and it's a beautiful place to visit. So that attracted MacDua. This was the pathway, if you like, the pass between the Burren, where the cattle were, and the East Galway, where the track to Dublin was, to the High Kings in Tara, that type of thing.
After thoroughly exploring the monastery, I bid farewell to Brian as I ventured north again, well beyond the city, into a very special place to meet some very talented young people. I'm standing on the northwest frontier of Ireland, in the Gaeltacht, the Irish-speaking part of the country, in Connemara. We're in County Galway, only a few miles from the hustle and bustle of the city, but here we're a world away. To meet the O'Flaherty family, who carry the traditions of Gaelic and of Irish music into the 21st century. Cuiva agus Seamus, Tommy John Shaw, Ing Olive, we're here in Connemara. I am delighted to be here, can you tell me about this beautiful spot and maybe a little bit more about how it influences you as artists?
Absolutely. So we're here in the village of Ardmore, in the Connemara Gaeltacht, the Irish-speaking region of Galway, and I suppose there in itself the language has a huge influence on our singing. We would have been brought up through the Seanos style of singing, or the old style when directly translated. So that's the really ancient style of Irish song through the Irish language here in Connemara. And I suppose we wouldn't have been exposed to anything else until very late on in life. So even when coming into the trad scene and the instrumentals and stuff like that, it had a huge influence on the types of tunes we would have pursued, arranging and stuff like that. So yeah, I have to say, we're coming into our adulthood now, we're really starting to appreciate how lucky we were to grow up here speaking the language and being immersed in such a rich culture.
But your culture, it doesn't involve just singing. The whole family plays every instrument in the book, from what I can figure.
We do try, all right, yeah. There's a big mix of them in there. The eldest brother, we've two older brothers, and they kind of roped us into it, so it was inevitable. If it was in the family, we were going to do it, and that goes back all the way through Dad's family and Mom's family as well.
Well, I love, personally, I heard you singing some Seanos a while back. I'd love you to give us a little piece of that today for us.
Lovely, we'll do that. I'll give you a verse of Eleanor.
Draw me Morgum til sig Du ser skin op og neden Corporum mos she grow mochri smoichi Aver in the soul, du sechs milche po. Spons what it's a blow, they can Marsas Marhjolen gaunad
I could have stood there all day listening to that ancient music mingling with the ocean wind, but we had dinner plans. And the venue couldn't be more lush. It seems that for centuries, people have been buying up lakeside property and building gorgeous houses to match the view. You can actually rent out this private manor home, but you won't be finding it on Airbnb. You see, when Charles and Camilla visited a couple years ago, this is where they stayed. Now, I don't exactly have the funds at the moment to be staying where royalty lay down their heads, but luckily, I have a friend on the inside. And what's even better, he's a chef. I think I can smell it from here, so let's hurry inside. So, of all the array of people that I know around the country, knowing one of the top chefs in Ireland, Andrew Rudd, it takes the biscuit. What are you cooking for me today?
Well, I'm going to do, and this is from the estate, I'm going to do wild venison, which is just amazing. And I'm going to flambe that in dingle whiskey. And I'm using some other ingredients here from the garden. I've got some wild garlic, I've got some potatoes, I've got some carrots. But I'm going to jump straight into this. I've got the pans really hot. Now, here we have for the venison, I'm going to season that with a bit of salt. So this is just amazing. This is aged over a period of 42 days.
Yeah.
And I'm going to basically just kind of flambe that, and I'm going to turn it and get the heat going, get a crust going, and then I'm going to finish it off with the whiskey and into the oven. So now, the other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit more of a flavour component in here. So I've got these beautiful wild garlic.
That you can smell all around the kitchen.
They're incredible. I've got some potatoes here, so this is going to be a bit of a one-pot wonder. And I've got some carrots here as well. Now, we've got enough heat in there. I'm going to turn that a couple of times. You can see here that that's beginning to actually seal. So I have the spinach here in another hot pan. So I've got some butter, some olive oil. So if you want to let me buy you there for one second. And this was harvested directly from the garden this morning.
You work in this gorgeous property quite a bit, right?
I do, yeah. I mean, I've been working here for about 10 years. Really kind of bespoke events because it's available for hire.
It sounds like the perfect vacation.
It's just amazing. So I'm going to add into that now my whiskey. So we've got a fair bit of heat in there, and this is going to add a nice little bit of flavour. So, if you notice what I'm going to do here, there we go.
Hey!
Okay. So now that's going to burn the alcohol off, and that allows me then to put it straight into the oven, and I'm going to finish that. But that's going to be a really nice dish. And then we have our spinach here. So the spinach, as you can see, it needs to be very, very lightly cooked.
Can I just ask, so you're not a local, so you are from Dublin. Your restaurant is in Dublin, is that right?
Yeah, it's a private dining venue. So what we specialise in is events and event management and bespoke curated events. And this is one of the locations that I cook in. And it's just fantastic.
Well, I want to find out a little bit about the history of the place. So we'll see when I'll come back when this is done, right?
If there's any left.
There better be. While the venison cooks and my stomach rumbles, I get the chance to talk to the king in his keep, Dominic Gwynne Jones. So Dom, I'm here a couple of hours and I'm feeling very peaceful, and I can't imagine how it must feel to be able to come here all the time. How long have you and your family owned the estate?
Well, my father bought the place back in the early 70s, so it's really been part of the family for as long as I can remember. Been very fortunate to have lived here, and it's been a huge plus, and part of it, I guess, a very privileged life to have been brought up here with you know, and especially now with our kids.
Yeah, can you imagine having such a vast area of land to allow your kids to run and play and enjoy this beautiful serene surroundings?
It's been very spoiling, certainly with everything that Lough Cutra has to offer, you know, such as the fishing and the horses here. No, incredibly lucky, Michael.
Having heard a bit of what life is like living on an estate of this scale, Andrew took me on a tour of those luxe amenities available to guests who rent out the place.
So, isn't this impressive?
You are so lucky to get to work in a beautiful place like this. You host events here.
We've done a few weddings, but most particularly about 3 years ago, we had a group of 30 Americans who stayed here for 14 days. One of the evenings, we had a banquet in here, so we had tables going right down the middle. And we hired in costumes, and we had a Celtic dinner, and it was it was fabulous. Okay, so this is the goth room.
It is magnificent. Look at that ceiling.
I mean, it's a wonderful place to sit down, chill, relax. Could you imagine it here at Christmas time? Christmas tree in the corner, you've got your brandy, you know, you're reading a book, kids running around the place. So this is the formal dining room, where we would entertain guests every evening. Different meal, different menu. But you know what's really interesting in this room? We have some interesting light bulbs. There's one other customer in the world. It's a significant palace in London. Buckingham Palace is the only other customer for these light bulbs.
Now thoroughly wowed by the royal levels of luxury, we return to the kitchen where a meal fit for a king is coming out of the oven. No king in sight, mind you. I guess Andrew will have to make do with my commoner's taste buds. It looks spectacular.
I could smell that all day. I don't even need to taste it, I just need to smell it. And that garlic is coming through.
So a lot of people ask me back in the States, what is quintessential Irish food? What is distinctly Irish about this food?
Do you know what? It's locally sourced, locally produced, and it's all about the provenance of the food, the provenance of the ingredients, the quality of the ingredients. None of this has been imported, you know, so we've cut down on the carbon emissions. Everything that you see in front of you now has been sourced on the estate. And this would be replicated throughout Ireland, you know, with restaurants, hotels, bars. People buy local, if at all possible.
Well, could we taste it?
We can taste it. So, here we go. So I'm gonna let that rest just for a little sec. And I'm gonna plate this up here as well. So we have our lovely wild garlic. We have our potatoes. We've got some lovely baby carrots. Here we go. So here we go with our venison. So I'm going to do nice little thin slices.
Yes.
Look at that. Isn't that just divine?
I don't just want to look at it though, Andrew.
And here you go.
Look at the colour.
Give that a go. Now you might need a little knife.
Oh yeah.
Unless you want to put the whole piece of meat in.
No, I'm going all in.
You're going all in?
Yeah, I want to taste this. That is gorgeous.
Can you get the dingle whiskey in that?
I can.
It will burn off. It's quite subtle.
It stands on its own.
It really does.
Andrew, this is gorgeous food.
Off you go again.
I'm going in again. Thanks for joining me on my travels around Galway. I'm Michael Landra and I hope to see you next time on Ireland with Michael. But for now, sláinte. Cheers. Gorgeous.
Want to continue your travels to Ireland? A deluxe Ireland with Michael DVD featuring all episodes of Season 1 and 2 plus bonus concert footage is available for $30. A copy of the Ireland with Michael companion travel guide featuring places to visit as seen in Seasons 1 and 2 is also available for $30. A set of both is available for $55.
To learn more about everything you've seen in this episode, go to IrelandWithMichael.com.
Ireland with Michael was made possible by
Whether travelling to Ireland for the first time or just longing to return, there's plenty more information available at Ireland.com.
CIE Tours, sharing the magic of Ireland for nearly 90 years.
Aer Lingus has been bringing people home since 1936. If you're thinking about Ireland, Aer Lingus is ready when you are to take you home.